Shalom Aleichem. Mishnah Yomi is now holding in chapter 6 of Bava Metzia, Mishnayot Daled Hey. Today, a socher et a para. He rented a cow, laharosh bahar, to do plowing up in the mountain area, v'charosh babika. But then, lamaisa, he took it down to the valley and plowed his field down there. Im nishbar hakankan. If the plow broke, the kankan is really the attachment beam that holds the metal blade. So you understand, if the metal blade hits something too hard, goes too deep, that could snap. Potter. So in this case, he's potter. The idea being, yes, he made a change, but like the end of yesterday's Mishnah, we learned that if someone made a change, but it's not material, it doesn't make it any more difficult for the animal or the avoda, then he's not liable for that change. So here, the ground down in the valley is softer, it's less rocky than the har, so he's okay. But bika, if he hired it to go down in the valley with the soft dirt, v'charish bahar, lamaisi went up to the hills where it's rocky, im nishbar kankan chayev. Then if this part of the plow breaks, he has to pay for the plow. After all, it's the renter's change that has caused the circumstances that led to the breakage. Lodush bekitnet, he rents a cow or another animal to thresh in the kitnius. That reminds us on Pesach, when the Sephardim eat this stuff, it's beans, legumes, and the like. V'dosh b'tzvua, but he actually decides to thresh his grains with it. Potter. He's potter if the animal slips, because grains are actually less slippery than kitniot. You heard it here first. Ladush b'tzvua, if he hired the animal, rented the animal to thresh in the grains, v'dash b'kitnit, and he had it do the kitniot, which are more slippery, chayev. Then if it's injured, he has to pay. He changed, and his change was detrimental, made it more difficult for the work to happen without accident. Mipnesha kitniot mechaleket, beans and kitniot legumes there, more slippery. On to Mishnah Hey, hasocher et achamor, he rented out a donkey, lahavi aleha chitin, to carry a specified amount of wheat. Heavy aleha siorin. Instead, he decided he's going to put barley on this donkey, not wheat. But the story is, when he rented the donkey owner said, listen, no more than 200 pounds of material on this donkey. So the renter got smart. He said, I'll put 200 pounds of barley on the wheat, and barley is less dense than the wheat is, so even though it's the same weight, it's a larger volume, it's bigger, it's bulkier, chayev. Then if the animal is injured, the renter is chayev. He was mishana, he changed, and he changed it to something more difficult. And lamaisa, you might see this past week, maybe when you're building your sukkah, you might have a shorter beam, but it's the same weight as a longer beam, the exact same weight, but you'll find the longer, wider beam is much more difficult to maneuver without problems. The Mishnah goes on, tzavua, if he rented the animal to carry grain, v'hevi aleha tevin, but instead he carries straw. Again, straw is lighter than grain, so he adds the same weight, but it's a much larger load. Chayev, he has to pay, mipnei shahanefach kashe lemasui, because a larger volume is hard to bear like a larger load. So adding much more volume, as we explained, like with the sukkah beam, it makes it kind of just as hard as adding more weight, and he wasn't allowed to add more weight. Now the Mishnah brings a case where the unit was in volume, not in weight. Lahavi letech hitin. A letech is a volume. He was going to put a letech of wheat on this donkey, heavy letech sorin. Instead, he puts a letech of sorin. Potter. He's exempt if there's damage, because again, the sorin is less dense. It's actually lighter if you have the same unit volume of barley than of wheat. Im hosif al masao, but if he adds to the volume, makes it bigger to get to the same weight, chayev, he's obligated to pay if the donkey is injured schlepping the stuff, because lamaisa, he's added weight. He's not allowed to add weight or volume. But the Mishnah points out it's really hard to be exact when you're loading up animals. If the renter adds, how much will he be chayiv? You understand, if he adds like an ounce, if he adds one straw, is he really going to break the camel's back? The Mishnah actually teaches no. Sumchus omer mishum Rabbi Meir, seya legumel. It's a seya on a gumel. Adding a seya over the standard amount would be chayiv. That would be negligent overloading. And the Mefarshim point out, a camel could carry a lesech, which is 90 kav, a seya is 6 kav, so it's 1/15. So a 1/15 overload, it's within the margin of error. And they added seya legamol is shlosha kavin lechamor. And for a donkey, it's shlosha kavin, which is 1/30th. I guess donkeys are more sensitive than camels to being overloaded, but we see there is a small margin of error when the renter is loading up the rented animal. Tizkuli mitzvot, yashar kochachem.